I was reading an article that stated as of 2025, 59% of Americans didn't have a minimum of $1,000 in a savings account, which is shocking, but I'm not that surprised. And on top of that, 46% of Americans do not have any money set aside for retirement. This is an extremely shocking number. And to be honest, I used to be a part of that 59% and that 46% of people that didn't have money set aside in a savings account. And I definitely didn't have anything set aside for my retirement. But that all changed in my late 20s and in my early 30s whenever I decided it was time to make a change. I was tired of living paycheck to paycheck, and I was tired of actually not having any success towards my financial future. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over the things that I did that allowed me to realize that I was on the path to financial success. And as of 2020, I hit my very first milestone of having a 7-figure net worth, but I'm not going to stop there. So my next goal is to double that, and I'm looking at $2 million net worth as my next goal. Now I'm going to just make this extremely clear. I am unapologetically trying to become wealthy. Right? I want to make as much money as I possibly can so I can take care of my family and I can actually start doing the things that I want to do as opposed to doing the things that I have to do. I'm willing to make sacrifices right now in the short term in order to have some long-term success. Now, the very first thing that I did that actually had an impact on my financial future is I changed my mindset about money. See, whenever I was growing up, I didn't know a lot about how to build wealth and what to do with money once I got it. I just knew it was Friday, I got paid, I wanted to go out, I wanted to buy that new outfit. I was not worried about saving money or investing. So the very first thing that I had to do was change my mindset. I had to actually start thinking about what can I use that money for and how can I use it to position myself in the future. So I started reading books, I started watching YouTube channels. I tried to teach myself as much about money as possible. And not so much about making money at that point, really just how to manage money. And that's when I first started budgeting. I first started tracking where I was spending and things of that nature because I wasn't doing that. And one of the things that I learned early on, straight out the gate, was that if I started to actually track where my money was going, that I actually could determine where I was spending money, what I didn't need to. And that was the thing that was the biggest eye opener for me. I was spending money on junk, things that I didn't need to impress people that I didn't even like. So if you were in that 46% or that 59% that I previously mentioned, one of the very first things that I would recommend that you do is you actually start taking a look at how do you view money? What is your relationship with money? Do you only view money as a way to actually just go out or just to buy things that you don't even need? If that's the case, and I suspect that it is, and I'm not actually, picking at you or anything like that, because we as Americans, we love credit. We love being able to buy things that we don't need with money that we don't have so we can have that immediate satisfaction. Which brings me to the second point of what I did in order to know that I was actually on the path to financial success was getting out of debt, and more specifically, credit card debt. Right, so I've made a lot of videos on my channel where I talked about how I was in credit card debt in my 20s. I was a young kid that stepped foot on a college campus and I was able to get a credit card. And I did what most kids did. I went out and I used that credit card for things that I didn't need. And what ended up happening is I ended up getting myself into credit card debt. And one of the things that was extremely humbling at the time was having an extremely low credit score and having maxed out credit cards and only being able to pay the monthly minimum, which at the time was really only just paying the interest. I mean, I can remember those credit cards had like 25 or 27% interest. It was nuts. It was crazy. And it took me a really long time to get myself out of credit card debt. And by the time I got out of debt, I was like, you know what? I will never put myself in credit card debt again. And I remember like it was yesterday because I got into credit card debt when I was about 20 years old, and I wasn't able to get out until I was about 25 or 26 years old. And since that time, I have never put myself in a position to where I have a balance on my credit card month after month. Now, the next thing that I did that allowed me to get on my path to financial success was I was willing to change careers. I remember when I graduated from college, I was 24 years old at the time because I got a late start in college. And I remember having a job in a law library and I was working 40, 45 hours a week. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't go to school for law. I had an undergraduate in business, but that was the job that I was able to get at the time. And I remember I did that job for a couple of years and I just really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was making a little bit more money. Actually, I was making more money at that point than I had at any point in my life. And at that time, it wasn't that much. It might have been, $35,000 or $40,000 a year at that point in time. And I just remember that I was sitting down and I was like, you know what? I got to make a change because I got to make more money. At the time I had a kid. I needed to make money to be able to eventually buy a house. So what I started to do is I started looking for new jobs. And fortunately, I was able to land a job. And I'm actually still in that work field today, which I do contract management and strategic sourcing. And I've been doing that since about 2008, 2009 timeframe. But doing that allowed me to break into different companies and opportunities that allowed me to make a lot more money. So as of today, right, when I look back and I'm like, you know what, when I made that job change, that was the catalyst for me being where I'm at today. And one of the things that I always tell people, especially younger people, if they have questions about career or they're looking for career advice, is I always tell them, do not be afraid to A, change a job, B, change an industry that you're working in. Be open to changing things up in order to make sure that you can continue to go ahead. So for example, if you're working at a company, you've been there for 5 years, you feel like that you've kind of hit your ceiling, don't be afraid to go out there and test the market because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be worth more to a new company as opposed to staying where you're at. And maybe you'll go out there and you'll find out, hey, I can make 25% more at company B as opposed to staying at company A. And then at that point, you have some decisions to make. You can go back to the company that you're working for and you could say, hey, I've decided to take a new opportunity and here's how much they're willing to pay me for this role. Do you want to match that? Right? And sometimes they'll say yes, and sometimes they'll say they can't do that, which is completely fine. But at the end of the day, you are in charge of your own career and your own career path. You never want to allow anyone to dictate the path that your career takes. You have to take control and charge of your own career and set out your own path. Now, the next thing that I did that I implemented was I started to learn how to invest. And not just in the stock market. When I first started to learn how to invest, I started with my 401k. I wanted to learn as much about my 401k as I possibly could because at the time I was just having 5% of my paycheck go into my 401k. It was going into a fund that the company selected, and I had no idea what I was invested in. So what I did at the time, and I believe it was Merrill Lynch, was the 401k plan holder at that point in time, is I scheduled a call. A lot of these companies that you have your 401k through will allow you to have free calls with a financial analyst so you can go over your plan and start to plan out your financial future. So I took advantage of that. And I remember having several 1-hour phone conversations with a financial analyst. And I was asking them questions about fees against my account. What is an index fund versus a mutual fund? What is active investing versus passive investing? How much does it cost for Merrill Lynch at that time to manage my 401k portfolio? And they also had many classes that you can take on investing in general, and I did those as well. I just kind of immersed myself in the entirety of understanding my 401k to the point where I was comfortable with making my own investment decisions within my 401k. And then on top of that, I started to learn about just investing in the stock market in general. And that is when things really started to explode because at that point in time, I was keeping my money in a savings account. I'd have $20, $30, or $40,000 in a savings account, gaining less than 0.5% of interest. And all that time, I could have had that money into the market and could have been working on my behalf. But I wasn't aware of the market, right? I didn't know that. I was not taught that. And that's one of the things that I often talk about is a lot of the things that I've been able to do from a financial perspective were done through trial and error. And I was able to learn how to do this over time. So I'm telling you, if you are someone that's interested in elevating your financial future, make sure that you learn how to invest. And if you don't know how to invest, make sure you check out the Small Portfolio Builder Challenge that I'm running on my channel, where I'm taking small amounts of money every single day and building out a portfolio over a long period of time. I'll be sure to leave a link down in the description below for that challenge, so make sure you check that out. So the next thing that helped me to accelerate my financial progress was understanding that business owners and investors are treated differently than W-2 employees by the US government. So this is one thing that I really didn't understand until I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Cash Flow Quadrant. He talks extensively in that book how people that invest in real estate or the stock market or invest in a business are treated differently from a tax perspective than from individuals that go in and get a paycheck from their W-2 job. Because as a regular employee, you have a limited amount of items that you can deduct during tax time that will allow you to reduce your tax burden. But as a business owner and as an investor, you have hundreds of things that you can deduct away from your income in order to pay less tax. Now, usually around elections, we hear about how millionaires and billionaires don't pay their fair share of taxes. And I'm not here to talk about that, right? This is not to talk about right or wrong versus, who pays more taxes and who should pay more taxes and who doesn't. What I'm saying is I had to understand how to pay less taxes, because the more money that you keep in your pocket that you can invest in your financial future will allow you to accelerate your financial growth. I'll leave a link to that book down in the description. I think it's worth checking it out. You could probably find it used on eBay. I like audiobooks, but I'll link it in the description below. And if you want to check it out, I think it was very helpful. It was helpful for me. Probably would be for you too. Now, the next thing that I did that helped me to accelerate my financial progress was I started working side hustles. So I moved to North Carolina back in 2018. And one of the very first things that I did is I got my real estate license. I'm a licensed realtor in the state. I don't practice as much as I used to, but from time to time, I will go out and I'll either list a home for sale or I'll work as a buyer's agent. Now, there are other things that I've done in my past from a side hustle perspective, but being a real estate agent is probably the most lucrative side hustle that I've had. You can make a lot of money doing that if you decide to go down that path, whether it be real estate or some other independent work. One thing that I'll advise you to do, and I did learn this probably the hard way in year one, is make sure that you're setting enough money to pay taxes, because the money that you get paid from these types of jobs, they are not taxed. So until you actually itemize all of your expenses against your income for that side hustle, just make sure you have enough money set aside for taxes. Now, the very next thing, and this is crucial, is I expanded my networking circle. So I'm the type of person that typically likes to have a small group of people that I interact with. And probably about 10, 12 years ago, I kind of changed that a little bit. I've always worked in corporate America, but I never really kept a lot of contacts in that space in my friend circle. So one of the things that I started to do about 10 to 12 years ago is I started to actually interact with people that had similar interests as me. So for example, if I wanted to invest in real estate, I'm going to go to real estate meetups and I'm going to network with those people, and actually not just network with them, but I've made some friends in the process. And then as well as kind of stock clubs and stock meetups and things of that nature. One of the biggest things that I've learned is that when you meet people from different and diverse backgrounds, you can always learn something. I've met people in these real estate meetups, in these stock club groups, where they have kind of given me the game on a few things that I didn't know, especially from like a tax or an investing perspective. So make sure that you keep your mind open about hanging out with people from different walks of life, because I can tell you, you can learn something from so many different people. So be open-minded about that. And also, you should really be looking to actually expand your circle as you get older anyway. And what I would recommend again is you are looking to expand your circle with people that have similar interests as you or people that have been to where you want to be. And the next thing, and this could be one of the most important things that I learned along my financial journey, is to not worry about what anybody says. Here's the deal, right? Whenever you start doing something a little bit differently than what you've done in the past, the people that know you the best are either A, not going to support you, or they're going to B, question everything that you do. You got to block out all that noise and stay laser focused on the task at hand. Because I can tell you, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to doubt you. You might have people that make fun of you. You might have people that ask you who you think you are. Do you think you're better than them? What makes you think that you could succeed? Block all that noise out and stay focused and stay on the plan. So there are the things that I did that put me on the path to knowing that I was going to hit my financial goals. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below and let me know, when did you start your financial journey? Have you not started it yet? Is this video a wake-up call to get you started for 2025? I just want to know where everyone kind of stands, because we all have a different starting point. And we're all going to have goals that are unique for us. So if we could share our goals in the comments, then maybe it'll help someone that is facing a similar situation as you to get to their goal. If you've got some value from this video, or if you've watched a few of my videos in the past, consider subscribing. And while you're at it, hit a like for the algorithm and share this video with anyone that you think may find this information helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.